Hello people, my name is Tola Alabi and welcome to ProUp Masterclass. Today we are going to be talking about 4 things you shouldn't do when you miss a deadline. Deadlines. This is something I find a lot of graphic designers trying to grapple with. How to meet your project deadlines. Now, you're having issues, that is constant issues, trying to meet up with your project deadlines. Then it comes down to 3 things: bad time management, terrible work ethics, or agreeing to unrealistic timelines set by the client. Now, a lot of designers in Nigeria will understand where I'm coming from when it comes to this third point of agreeing to unrealistic timelines set by the client. Now, I'm not saying that designers do not have a fault when it comes to having bad work ethics or terrible time management. But Nigerian clients, I believe that if a survey were ever done to see clients in the world that set the most unrealistic timeline, then Nigerian clients will come top 3 if that survey were ever done. Because a Nigerian client expects you to do a website that looks like Facebook, loads like Google, and works like Instagram in one night. You tell a client that I would need 1 month to get your logo design done and do adequate research and get your logo design done. And the client says, 1 month? Why do you need 1 month to do a logo? Is it not just to go to your computer and type something and get a logo out for me? I can do that in one night now. I do logos. Just that I don't have time. That's why I'm coming to meet you to do the logo. And you see yourself having to get into debates like this with clients. And in the end, you find yourself as a designer agreeing to really unrealistic timelines for projects. Now, in this class, we are not focusing on the causes of not meeting your deadline. We are focusing more on how to manage a situation where you've missed your deadline. Now, I'm going to be telling you 4 things you shouldn't do as a designer when you find yourself in such situations. But before I even go into that, I'm going to tell you 2 types of projects with deadlines you shouldn't miss. The first type of project I'm going to tell you are weddings. If you're designing for a wedding, you have to put it on top of your pile of work because you don't want to miss a wedding deadline. Now, weddings are already very emotional, very tense, very stressful. You don't want to do anything as a wedding vendor that will make that situation even worse than it is, adding more emotion to the atmosphere. Now, when I have wedding projects, it goes top of priority because I realize I do not want to be the one that will be holding up a wedding ceremony. The second type of project that you don't want to miss the deadline are projects that are date bound. There might be a conference, a seminar, a concert, whatever it is. You might have a project that has a particular date set to it. Now, this kind of project, you actually need to do all you can to make sure you meet up with this deadline, because there's no use if a project is for the 15th and you're delivering on the 16th. Whatever you're delivering on the 16th is totally useless. There's no apologizing for it. It doesn't work for the client anymore. So those 2 projects, weddings and date-bound projects, you should do all within your power to meet up with the deadlines for those projects. And here we're talking about, even if whatever you're delivering is not what you feel is up to your standard, just deliver. It's better for them to have something than have nothing at all. Now, we're talking in this class about projects, maybe like logo projects. Now, a logo project, if a logo comes a day late, 2 days late, it can still be a useful logo for years. If you are working on a brochure, a company brochure, if it comes late, it can still be useful. So we're kind of focusing on those kinds of projects in this class. Now, straight to the 4 things you shouldn't do when you miss your deadline. The first thing you shouldn't do is don't run. Don't run. And when I say don't run, I'm saying don't avoid the client. the first instinct a lot of designers have when they realize they've missed the deadline is to stop picking their calls or to switch off your phone, which just makes matters worse because now you're making the situation emotional. And in my interaction with clients, I find them say, look, it wasn't even the fact that he delayed in delivering the job, it's the fact that I was calling and he didn't pick up my calls. That's what hurts me the most. And clients that do not return to a service provider or return to a product, a lot of them do not return not out of a delayed service, but clients can stop patronizing a service basically because of an emotional hurt. And not picking a client's call or switching off your phone when you are delivering or you don't meet a deadline just creates that atmosphere that is ripe for emotional hurt. So whatever you do, pick up that phone. The client has a right to vent, and you as a service provider must develop a thick enough skin to allow them vent. Now stay on the line, listen to them. If they're shouting, let them shout, let them get that aggression out of them. But whatever you do, don't run. 2, don't lie. There is a temptation to lie when a client is calling you to ask for a job that has been delayed and they're demanding for their job. Don't lie. Remember, lying only makes it emotional. The client would feel hurt knowing that you've lied to them. So don't tell them you're in hold up when you're at home trying to figure out the situation. Don't tell them you're on your way. You have to come to the point where you can tell the client the truth about the situation. Tell them you just couldn't meet up with the timeline. Some things didn't pan out the way you thought they were going to pan out. You're going to get the work across to them on so and so day. Now, the client is not going to be happy with this, but you wouldn't worsen the situation by telling a lie. So whatever temptation you have to lie in the situation, don't lie. Let the client be in the know about the situation, the actual situation of the project. 3, don't be too proud to beg. Now, I've come to realize that there's nothing that cannot be resolved when you tender a heartfelt apology. Now, this right here is the time for you to get emotional. Now, I'm not talking about the apology you tender when you're tendering the work saying, I'm sorry your work was late, here it is. No. Now, this comes after you've given the work to the client. Now, this is better in a written form. It might be in form of an email, a WhatsApp message, a text message, whatever it is. Make sure you write it down and tell the client. If you're on first name basis with the client, use the client's name. Hey, John, I'm sorry I delivered your work late. You accept responsibility and say, it was unprofessional of me and I'm sorry about this. Now, there are 2 words you need to include in your apology. I am sorry, please forgive me. Now, that opens up an avenue for the client to reply you and say, it's okay. But you need to use those 2 words. I'm sorry, please forgive me. And you must let the client know that it was unprofessional of you. It makes the client know that this is an exception and not a norm for you to deliver work late. So an apology is always very important. Never be too proud to beg. Now, number 4, don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. Now, there's something you must always have at the back of your mind as a designer, as a service provider, someone who is in business, and that is everybody messes up. Everybody messes up. Big companies mess up, small companies mess up, medium companies mess up. Everybody messes up. Everybody fails to deliver at some point. It might be the quality of service, it might be the time of delivery, but everybody goes through that point where you fail. You fail a client or you under-deliver on a service. So don't be too hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up too much over a delayed project or missing a timeline. Now, we've seen big automobile companies mess up. They mess up a model of a car that has killed people, and you see them call back these cars and they do not close up over those mistakes they make on that model. You see technology companies, phone companies miss it with a model of a phone, and they call it back, and they get back into the market and they are successful. You see big international award-winning recording artists mess up in the sense that they are booked for a concert in a country and they just don't show up. And this is a concert that hundreds of thousands of people have bought tickets for, and they don't show up. And what amazes me is that these artists go back to the same country months later and they still sell out, because they've learned to understand that these things happen, but what makes the difference is how you manage your mess ups. So don't beat yourself up about it, and don't be too hard on yourself about missing a project. You must understand that as a designer, as a business person, you are on a journey. You're not perfect yet, and you're going to make mistakes, and these things are going to happen. And you must understand that your client also knows that these things do happen. I've had deadlines that I've missed, and those clients have come back to work with me on several other projects. So it's a part of life, and it's something that happens. So don't be too hard on yourself about it. So those are the 4 things you shouldn't do when you miss a deadline. Number 1, don't run. Number 2, don't lie. Number 3, don't be too proud to beg. Number 4, don't be too hard on yourself. Now, if you have any questions pertaining to this topic, please leave a comment. If you have any questions you want to ask generally on the business of design, please leave a comment. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next class.